Hey folks, today I would like to share my conversational summary and reflection on my second flow wisdom book called So You Want to Date a Flow Artist. This book was my pretty much a year-long journal of dating in the flow arts world. I have been involved in this community for a little over a decade, and I have been romantically inclined the whole time. I've dated about half a dozen different flow artists, and I've learned a lot along the way. I'm not saying my way is the best way. This book is designed as a conversation piece for new couples. It's basically a springboard for them to deepen their relationship and for men to learn how to be a more valuable partner. As you'll see in chapter 1, I feel as though a lot of men don't have enough information and inspiration to be a good partner. I've seen a lot of men get sucked into the more conservative red pill side of dating advice, and this is an antithesis to that. I myself have watched a lot of that content, not because I agree with it, but more because I want to know what huge chunks of the male population think. Misogyny is not gone, even though patriarchy ended. In America, we've pretty much agreed that women deserve equality of opportunity, education, property rights, and freedom of speech. And so chapter 1 is called You Must Compete for Attention, but She Does Not. And I just need men to know that since patriarchy ended, we no longer hold all the cards, and that changes things. We basically have to be better men than our fathers were and our grandfathers were. There is no guarantee of romance or love or a hookup or even friendship with women. We have to compete with other men who have adapted to the modern world. Empathy, intelligence, patience, these are all traits that are being selected for right now. Aggression, misogyny, brutality, cruelty, maybe those were valuable for cavemen because they had battles to fight, but in the modern society, we're a lot more docile. And you can go to the gym to get that aggression out. You can absolutely still work on your testosterone levels and be that savage you want to be, but not with women. It doesn't really work in our community. I've been both types of guys. I've been very soft and I've succeeded, and I've been very hard and I've succeeded. I've also failed with both of those strategies. So just the first point I make in this book is that as men, we have to acknowledge that women are easier to work with. They're more enjoyable to look at. They're inherently better at flow arts in many ways because they typically have more of a background in dance and they're more in tune with their self-expression. And socially, they just collaborate better on group projects. Having been a teacher for 5 years, I've seen it. And so I just wanted to start the book by saying, men, we absolutely have to do better. We compete with each other. They don't. They already have a leg up on us. And that's okay. I am proud of our society for advancing as far as we have. I feel as though we're finally in a place where humanity can reach its full potential. The only way this happens is if men do better. Because of patriarchy, men have relied on brutality and sort of cornering women into relationships. And now we cannot do that anymore. So if you're like me and you sought out relationship advice from rich and powerful men only to find that it was misogynist and would never work for the average man, we're on the same page. Just wanted to get that icky topic out of the way. I'm not here to help men get laid and then never talk to that woman again. I'm here to help men plant seeds for long, successful, monogamous or polyamorous relationships. So get it out of your head that I'm some type of dating coach. This is more of a reflection, and this book really is a conversation piece for couples to talk about as they develop their relationship. So let's get into topic 2, and that is that curiosity opens doors if you ask the right questions. This is so much more pleasant. I can kind of unwind now. Curiosity is incredibly important to develop a relationship. Women love to feel like they're a treasure and that you enjoy opening the treasure chest, right? That you're really excited to see what they have inside their minds. When you're curious about her preferences, her habits, her goals, her ambitions, her friends, her family, her dog, her cat, she gets a chance to speak freely and you'll just see so many emotions come out and ways to connect. Let's make a stark comparison just so we can totally nip this in the bud, right? If you go to a show and you're with a woman, or you meet a woman and you walk up to her and say, "Wow, these lasers are really cool." She might say, "Yeah, these lasers are really cool." There might be an emotional connection with that, but if you walk up and say, "Whoa, how do you like these lasers?" It's subtly tailored in such a way that you're more interested in her experience than you are in the technology of the lasers, right? And in the world of flow arts, here are some of the questions I like to ask. What's your favorite type of show, fire or LED? If you had an unlimited budget, what type of show would you make? If you could film a flow arts video anywhere, where would you do it? Questions that really open the door to her goals, her ambitions, her dreams. And a nice smile, nice open body language, nodding your head. I'm sure you know about all of this already, but you should have curiosity at the front of your connection. When you first see someone, you can simply be curious about some accessories they're wearing. You can be curious about why they're at this event, where they traveled from. And if you've read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, you'll know that getting someone else talking is far more powerful than talking yourself. Let's say I'm a millionaire and I have an impressive story, right? Rags to riches, how I came up. That's honestly less important than asking a woman about her earrings. She likes to feel that she is really interesting, typically first. There are some exceptions to this where, let's say you're performing or teaching, maybe she'll come up to you and be curious about you, but it's kind of like a ping pong match. If she serves up curiosity, you answer it and then you serve up some of your own. I mean, most of you already know this, but I've just seen a lot of men who don't show enough curiosity about the women that they're meeting. They're kind of stoic and too cool to be curious. Perhaps 100 years ago, curiosity was a waste of energy, but now that curious energy is kind of an indicator of your ability to grow and your ability to integrate new things into your life. Yes, it does give a hint of you're just trying to get her talking, and so you do have to be genuinely curious. You can't ask a question and then just fall off a cliff of momentum. You have to keep following up. Eventually, so that it doesn't feel like an interview, you do have to emotionally connect and be vulnerable and admit something about it. So if you're curious about her favorite prop and it's Boo Gang and yours is clubs, eventually, after 10 minutes of talking about how much she loves Boo Gang spinning, you'd have to say, "Oh yeah, I'm more of a club guy." You do have to break the curiosity chain. And here's a little tip I've noticed is if you go up to a woman and you're curious about her and she's talking and she's expressing and she never asks about you, you probably don't have a chance. She just likes the attention from other people and the validation. I never really understood this mentality of why some people do that. Like, why do you want attention from someone that you're not interested in? But again, that's something I'm curious about. Like, how does someone get to that point? It's just a really good litmus test for how a relationship would be with someone if you go back and forth and you're curious about each other. So, too long didn't read, TLDR, show curiosity early on and you'll open a lot of doors that wouldn't be available if you didn't show that curiosity. Okay, let's move on to the third topic. Very similar. It's if you're patient, she will come to you. Over the course of human history, it's been said that men pursued women, but that's kind of flipped on its head now. Now, I think women typically approach men after, watching what happens in chapter 1, after watching men compete. Men compete in competitive games, they compete for stage slots, they compete for teaching slots in our community, they compete for DJ slots, they compete for the chance to speak, they compete to be the biggest flames in the fire circle, they compete to be the flashiest outfit. Maybe you're not competitive in nature, and that's okay, but you certainly are participating in a culture that has subtle elements of competition. That being said, you have to be patient as well. Even if you have the biggest flames and the coolest outfit and you DJ the best set, you still have to be patient and let a woman approach you. I think that's why the dating app Bumble is so successful, because at least until the paid version came out, women had to approach men. And that already creates the dynamic where the man is the prize, so to speak, which I believe is a healthier type of relationship. I think if a man is impatient and immediately idolizes a woman, she's going to lose interest for him. Where if a woman is impatient and idolizes a man, maybe I'm projecting, but I just don't think a man's going to lose interest as fast. I think because of hypergamy, which is a woman's tendency to date up, women lose interest in men faster, and so he has to show patience early on in the process. Whether that's being friends first or even just waiting 5 minutes until both he and she are available to actually converse, that patience at the beginning of the journey is far more valuable than six-pack abs or really technical skills or knowing all the right people. Being patient and waiting for her to come up to you shows that you probably have other things going on in your life and you have the discipline not to just approach somebody who's hot and interrupt what they're doing. Now, part of patience is you may, in your past, you may have approached everyone you saw right away. Cold approach them, introduce yourself, say something witty, yes. But maybe the new version of you actually lets that woman walk away for the night. Maybe she goes home with somebody else. Maybe she goes home with her friends. Maybe all you have is a glance across the room. While that's a bummer, it's also an important step as a man to recognize that waiting until opportunities come to you shows that you have a lot of them. Now, this is kind of like somebody who can run a marathon telling someone who just started running something like, oh, well, just go out there and run a half marathon. It's easier. It's like if you don't have the base skills and body and mind to do that yet, you probably won't be able to do it anyways. So the patience I curated came from fumbling over situations when I didn't need to. There were so many festivals I was at where I approached someone too fast before we really had something to connect on, and the music was too loud so she couldn't hear me anyway, and I just looked desperate. And I really don't want men to appear impatient. Sometimes if you just wait 10 minutes and dance near somebody at a jam or interact with her friends who are physically closer to you, you'll actually get a chance with the woman you do want. I think a lot of men are loud and brash and go directly for the woman they want, and women kind of want to be the one to approach you. They don't want to feel like they're a 10 and you're a 7. They want to feel like they don't know what rating you are. They have their own conception of themselves and they want to have to earn you. I think most people know this inherently because of equality, because of the patriarchy ending. Women have so much choice in life and so many opportunities. The only way you get access to those women is by letting them approach you. And for the record, they don't always come up to you and say, hey, I'm interested in you. Sometimes they'll simply stand near you, or they'll say something like, hey, can I sit near you here? Or, hey, are you using this chair? Or they'll stand there saying nothing, waiting for you to start the conversation, but they chose to physically stand near you. Very little of what women do is unintentional. They're a lot more socially adept, and they plan more than we do. So that being said, read subtle cues of where she stands, whether it's in a line or in a group. If she kind of winds up near you once or maybe twice, perhaps she wants to talk to you. Don't rush a person, ever. Always create environments in which they can approach you or your group. Okay, that one's kind of hard to express. I encourage you to check out the book. I'm a little bit more articulate in the book, and that's why I make these videos. I want to figure out how to have conversations about these topics. Writing's easy for me. Sometimes speaking, it's more difficult, but it really gets to the core of what I'm trying to express. So let's move on. The next topic is that passing and partner flow elevate relationships. If you've seen some of the flow couples online, you'll see that they're partner passing and they're Shiva hooping and poi spinning and club juggling. Those videos do really well. We all celebrate those patterns as a community. And that being said, you really, really should prioritize partner passing and partner patterns as a couple. I have done a ton of partner patterns with different women that I've dated, and obviously the videos are kind of superficial. Those are just, internet numbers. So I encourage you to do it for the sake of your soul, the sake of your relationship and your connection. Partner poi requires you to get into split time many times with your partner, which is a really funky time signature. It's hard to do. It requires communication and coordination. It requires typically good music that you both like to be playing so you can sync up with it. Then, for passing, it's even more complicated and even more satisfying because there's more objects going on and you could nail them in the face with a club or a poi. When I first got into partner poi, I very quickly realized that was pretty much my destiny, was to really dig into partner poi, because tech poi was just getting too difficult. But partner poi, it's that perfect level of difficulty where it's fun, you can learn a bunch of new patterns in a day, and it just looks beautiful. And it takes just the right amount of effort to where not a lot of people are doing it. So you can really stand out in our community by, in your relationship, prioritizing that and posting it and performing it or teaching it. So I feel as though not enough couples really lean into partner passing and partner flow. If they did, I believe they would get more gigs, get more teaching slots. And the reason I say this is because I get partner and group passing and partner poi, I get booked to teach that at festivals really easily. It seems like every festival wants that. I don't know if it's inherently difficult or it's just hard to get two people on one page. I don't know what it is exactly, but it really elevates the relationship. It really, really elevates the relationship to publicly teach or perform together. And I'd also like to talk about just the vibes in the living room. When you're, so say you go to the gym or your living room to flow or out a park or something. If you're facing each other, it really feels like a soul connection. There's an energy that happens when you're facing someone with props and you're working together to make a pattern. It feels very disconnected when I'm at a jam with my partner and we both have headphones in or we're both working on our own patterns. It can feel amazing, but that partner dance is something just built deep into our psyche, and tapping into that is worlds better than just flowing in the same room. Now, in this book, I do talk about having space to flow together, but I think that just a few basic partner patterns go such a long way. I'll give some examples too. So partner poi weaves, I recommend checking out Corey and Alicia's channel. Shiva hoop passing, I believe if you type in Shiva hoop passing on YouTube, you'll see a bunch of videos. Those are fun to learn. Obviously club passing, partner dragon staff, like my friend Dustin and his partner Alana. When they do that in the fire circle, everybody watches. Now they're both extremely hot. Perhaps that's part of it. But I think if any couple moved the way they do and just flowed and had fun with it and matched their footwork together the way that those two do, it would really elevate the relationship. I think trusting someone publicly not to burn your hair with a huge fireball and having it get really close over and over is just really valuable public validation. I think that when other people see couples doing partner patterns, especially with fire, no matter how good they are at tech, they're a little bit envious. And I always am when I see those partnerships where they're just lost in each other's eyes and they're smiling and they couldn't care less about what everyone thinks, even though everyone thinks it's awesome. I think it shows a self-sufficiency and a ability to disconnect from the internet and the wider community and really delve into something deep. I think partner patterns are a little bit deeper than even the most complicated of tech, because managing another person is way harder than managing a ball or a string or a stick. I like that. Let's get on to topic 5, which is that partner performances reveal relationship health. Simply put, if a couple shows up looking great, performing great, and consistent, it's a good relationship. Now, I have had a good act with a relationship that failed shortly after, so there are some exceptions to this, but for the most part, it takes strong communication, lots of patience, and lots of love to make a partner performance happen. Now, I do perform with my friend, some women platonically, and I have had people ask, "Oh, are you guys together?" No. That's a good sign, though. It does show that we can work together to create something beautiful and lovely without the romance. But I digress. The main point is that partner performances reveal relationship health because you really have to be tight on the cues. And in order to practice with another flow artist who probably has ADHD like we all do, you have to have a bigger vision together and you have to really like each other, because there's a lot of dopamine in performing by yourself and being sexy or creative on your own and not sharing that and all the romantic opportunities you get when you do perform. So it's almost like going back to topic number 4, where you get lost in their eyes, and people are really envious when they see another couple who is just totally in love with each other or totally involved in each other's lifestyle and goals, to the point where they can come up with a fully choreographed routine. I've thought about this one a long time because there's just so many subtle details to it that catch my attention, right? So let's take, for example, acro with props. It shows that when two partners do acro on stage with props, it shows that they evolved beyond flow arts culture, which a lot of us get stuck in just spinning balls, planting our feet, spinning hoops, and maybe doing a pirouette here and there. But when you start to do acro, for example, it shows that you're able to evolve beyond one subculture and go into another, which is partner acro. Then if you do it with props, it shows that you can return to the original culture that you connected on, flow arts, and bring it to the new area. So you're evolving and creating hybrids with multiple cultures together. You cannot do partner acrobatics by yourself with props. You can do some cartwheels, you can do sort of headstands and inverted shoulder stands with a dragon or a hoop. But doing it with another person requires such perfect alignment of your joints, timing of your breath and your muscles, and trust that they don't burn you or smack you in the head. It's truly a sight to behold. And I think a section in chapter 5 is that partner acro is a logical next step. I think a lot of couples, if they're not overweight, can do partner acro a lot easier than they think they can. Like, I have a little bit of knee pain when I do two highs on my thighs, but there's a lot of other partner acro you can do. Flags and sort of different presses and holds. They're easier than you think. I do recommend taking a class to unlock them. You know, I've learned some in my living room with bad form, and I was like, okay, I should have taken a class and done this on a softer floor. But partner acro with props gets so many cheers, and you don't have to work that hard, right? As someone who I've worked on juggling patterns that took 3 years to unlock, and I did them on stage, and they got like a mild golf clap, right? The community's like, okay, that's cool. But I've done partner acro patterns that took like maybe a week, maybe a day to get clean and performance ready, and I got a huge applause from that. I think humans in general just like to see people dancing in risky and challenging ways, and you can only pull that off as a couple if you are tight, if you love each other, and if you're willing to stretch, warm up, cool down, reflect, film, watch the film, drop each other on the padded floor a couple times. And I just think that performing together, because I'm going to wrap it up here in a second with this topic, I think performing together is a suite of skills that the world envies, right? Say it's learning it, that's fun, marketing it, booking it, filming it, and then doing it again and again and again. That's enough to distract you from little fights about who did the dishes. That's a bigger goal. That's inspiring other couples. That's keeping you in shape, keeping you accountable. I think that you can only perform with a partner if your relationship is doing well and you've kept the spark alive, despite the fact that I've performed with someone, and broken up, a couple weeks later. For the most part, I would say a good partner performance can only happen if your relationship is healthy. And if your relationship is just in the middle of the road and you decide to perform together, I think there's a good chance it will actually improve the relationship. Okay, let's move on to the sixth topic. This is a lot more tangible. Some props are better than others. So, for example, I always make fun of Boogang. I think it's such a wonky prop. Like Gustav Olida, he's amazing with Boogang. Like, I love watching him spin it. But I personally think it's like a silly and difficult prop. And so I wouldn't recommend doing partner Boogang. There's just a high likelihood you'll poke him in the eye, right? Compared to partner poi with sock poi. That's just objectively safer and easier to learn. There's a lot of content out from Corey and Alicia on how to do partner poi. If I made a tier list, I think the top three would be partner dragon, club passing, and partner poi. They each represent a different type of prop, right? And also, I guess a fourth one would be Shiva hoop passing. Those are really cute and fun. The reason I like partner dragon as pretty much the best one is because crowds love it. You can move your feet rather easily. You can do tosses, static poses, chi rolls, big acrobatic partner moves, and it's not that hard, right? Like, remember when you learned a chi roll with the dragon staff? It really wasn't that hard. The partner chi roll is fun because you're standing side by side, you have your arm around each other, and you learn how to get into a nice split time with each other, and it's actually a rather easy pattern to recover. I found that a lot of the more difficult partner patterns, the reason they're difficult is because if you mess up, you're screwed. But with partner dragon, you can kind of recover more easily, and you can stop it in the middle of the pattern and readjust it. Now let's compare that to partner poi, where if they get tangled, that pattern's done. Or if you smack each other in the nuts or the face, it's done. Partner poi is a little riskier, but it is also so much fun. It's 4 different objects, and it has a lot more variety than partner dragon. So I think it's for the more technical minded. Same with club juggling. Let's just assume you're doing 6 club juggling. There's such a world of opportunity to invent your own tricks and your own combos. But just getting the 4 count or the 2 count or, ultimates with 5 clubs, it's such a fun journey. You have to communicate, look at each other, and subtly adjust your personal flow to match somebody else. The height, the speed, the grip, the start, the collect, and not hitting in the face, the aim. It's fun to do with someone else. I've been doing partner passing for, I think, over 5 years now. And yeah, about 7 years now. And it is so much fun to do with a partner, because when you unlock that new pattern, especially if you can do it on stage or in front of your friends, it's just, I wish I had more words to this. It just feels so good. And I do recommend starting with beanbags and learning a lot of partner passing patterns with like juggling balls first. It's much easier than doing it with poi or clubs. But I digress. Partner hooping, for example, is pretty difficult because of how fast you have to be and how light the props are and how dangerous fire hoops are, but it's absolutely beautiful. So I recommend, when you're really deep into a relationship with a flow artist, gifts you can buy each other would be like a set of 6 juggling balls, a set of 6 hula hoops, a set of 4 sock poi, an extra long dragon staff with like 3D printed ends, and you somehow put foam on them so they don't hurt to get hit by. That shows you're investing in the relationship, and honestly, it's pretty cheap compared to a big vacation or something, or jewelry, for example. I like the idea that each anniversary you get a new partner flow prop, right? Or you purchase private lessons from someone for an existing flow prop. They, those props I just listed, in my opinion, really are a better thing to focus on than arguments or who did the dishes or who didn't clean up the dog poo in the yard and what have you. I really do think that dragon and partner poi and personally, I'm a juggler. I like passing clubs. Those are the best. If you spin double staffs, absolutely, you can come up with passing and Shiva patterns and tunneling. But I just think poi and dragon and clubs are the best props to develop your relationship and deepen it. All right. 7, this should be a short one. Social media tips and tricks. I mean, there's a million podcasts out on that. I would say that if you are a man looking for a woman, you do have to have a good social media profile. You can't skip that step. That's basically your social resume in the flow arts world, because we don't have an accreditation process. You can't say I have a master's in hooping, right? Like, you have to show, an artist must show their portfolio. And we've all kind of agreed that Instagram and perhaps YouTube is the place to do that. Plus, I think it's something like, I don't know, a certain percentage, who knows, 50% of relationships start online in some way. It's a bummer considering how much I prefer the real world to the internet, but you can't complain about the world, right? Just like chapter 1, it's not a good look to complain. You do have to learn the art of shooting videos and editing them and posting them in a way that the rest of the community likes if you ever want to get booked to teach or perform. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Don't complain about social media. Even if you only have 10 posts, you do have to have a profile that shows your skills. And realistically, you're going to always be adding to it for a couple reasons. One, because as you learn something new, you sort of need a project for your brain to like solidify it and apply it. And what other way is there to do that besides like performing it in a way that people can see? And then I watch my own videos a lot because I'll work really hard to unlock a pattern and get it clean. And then I won't do it for a while. And I'll be like, how did I do that pattern again? What did my body look like? What does it look like in slow motion, especially? When I have an easily accessible video of that, that's not just in my photo roll that can get deleted, it makes my life so much easier. I often refer back to my own Instagram videos to show like new women that I'm dating, like partner patterns that I want to do. And they actually really appreciate that I have it saved and can easily access it. It's kind of a weird sub-example, but overall, you want to have a portfolio of your work. I mean, I don't know how else you would prove to someone you're a good flow artist without videos of it. It's so, I can't think of any time that I've auditioned in person. It's always to send in a reel. And social media is the starting point, right? You use it to get gigs, and then when you get a gig, that's when you can perhaps meet your soulmate, right? You're not going to meet them in your living room, and you're not going to get the gig unless you have a video. So if you have questions about this, we can talk one-on-one. I have had success on social media, and I know what it takes, not to go viral, but just to have a good profile that gets booked. You can check out my first book called Flow Wisdom 1, So You Want to Be a Flow Arts Performer, if you want my strategy on social media. Hint, it's not about going viral. It never has been, and it never will be. It's about the outreach that you do and picking and choosing select gigs to use as stepping stones to get to bigger gigs. But anyway, let's go to topic 8, which is that your collective goal is semi-sobriety. So the reason I say this is because I smoked too much weed for too long, and I probably still do, but it gets in the way of a connection. And what you want is, if you're a man, you want a woman who makes you happy enough with life that you don't have to get high or get drunk or get faded or whatever your poison is. I really like when a woman is so stimulating and invigorating and satisfying to be around that I don't need to take anything. Now, I do also like to smoke weed with my romantic partners. I think that's fun, and obviously my friends too. But especially alcohol, like in the flow arts community, it just impairs everything. We're kind of a health conscious community, and if you're dating a woman who drinks a lot, I encourage you to be the force in her life that switches her over to more non-alcoholic beverages. Your like little spritzers that maybe have a half shot in it. For me, like non-alcoholic beers are really good. I like mocktails. And this whole chapter in the book was really fun for me to write because I came to terms with the fact that I used alcohol as a crutch and that meaningful relationships replaced that crutch. And at any point, I like to be able to just pick up an object and either balance it on my face or juggle it. And if you're drunk or hungover, you're probably not going to be able to do that. I see substances as a way to get from A to B. And once you meet the woman of your dreams, it's time to go from B to C. You don't really need the alcohol anymore. And I found that with a lot of women I dated, I had to be really patient. Going back to, chapter 3, if you're patient, she will come to you. But it's also like if you're patient with her, she will fall in love with you. Everyone's going to have their vices when they first start. Vaping is really popular in our community. Obviously, hardcore substances like ketamine and coke is popular. Alcohol, I think, is pretty hardcore. And then cannabis being kind of a gray area one. If you both agree that partner acro and partner passing, partner poi, partner dragon, and just leveling up your own personal flow arts practice, if you agree that those things are important to you, you'll probably also agree that staying sober, or at least semi-sober, or California sober if you just smoke weed, is incredibly important. And when you both come to that realization together, you do also have to come to the agreement that you're going to be patient with each other as you replace those substances in your life with less impactful ones. For example, if you smoke a lot of bud, maybe you slowly start replacing with some CBD, and you work together to do that. You beat addiction together, and you replace the dopamine of huge bong rips with partner flow, or just flowing in the same area together, or partner acro or partner yoga. I have found that my best relationships use the substances that we use like very intentionally together. So it's no secret, like alcohol makes you last longer in bed, right, as a man. So if you're with a woman who you have a romantic dinner together and you have a glass of wine, that's fine because I believe it leads to a good outcome. But if you're with a woman who just wants to drink a lot and be drunk all the time, I don't think that's going to help you reach your full potential as a flow artist. So somewhere in the terms of the relationship, you want to suss out, hey, do you want to use the love we have for each other and the mutual goals to become more sober, or at least California sober, semi-sober? And if she's interested in that, that's a great partner. And I think flow arts is a great way to do that because you can't be drunk and juggle. It's just unnecessarily difficult. All right, 2 more topics. 9. Chapter 9 of the book is called Men Get Shredded in Breakups. And no, not the good kind of shredded. What I mean is men get destroyed online and socially. As a community, we've kind of agreed that women are like better than men in many cases, not skillfully, but they're just better to have around because they're more socially pleasant in many ways. And so when a flow couple breaks up, typically a liberal arts community is going to just defend the woman and like cast out the man. If you study evolutionary psych, you'll know that men are nature's plaything because they have more genetic mutations. Their IQ varies a lot more than women's do, and they do not have to reproduce for the species to survive. Women do, but men do not. And so what I've realized over time is that each time I have a breakup, I have to be really, really careful about what I say on social media following that and about what I say in the friend group. Because if I shit talk the woman, immediately it's going to come back to me and it's going to make me look bad. If I take accountability, people will even still use that against me. So I just have to pretty much stay silent and make my little heartbreak posts and say, hey, I'm sad this relationship ended, or I'm glad, now I'm free. And just leave it at that. Do not engage. Do not talk to her friends. Do not talk to her family. Anything you say can and will be used against you when you're going through a breakup as a man. And that's okay, right? It goes back to chapter 1. Like, women are kind of inherently more valuable because they're socially more pleasant. And in breakups, men are supposed to... Okay, let me just talk about this. This is interesting. On average, when this was studied, women get back into another relationship on average after 6 months. It takes men 18 months. So men not only have to deal with the pain of losing a partner, but they also have to watch that partner pick someone new faster, before they do. And a lot of times when we break up, we have to do some internal work and some external work. Like I was probably crying about a breakup. There's this one breakup I went through that was just so sad because I loved her and it was sad to lose her. And so I worked out a lot, as a lot of men do. And I set my PR for the mile. Like, I think I was 32 years old. That's amazing. I mean, I've been a runner almost my whole life, and for a breakup to be that powerful, it motivated me to do that. And I wrote like an album when I was doing that. I got shredded socially and online. Everybody was making fun of me. Everyone was saying everyone was trying to hook up with her. I mean, everybody was going after her, which means they're talking shit about me. I already know they're throwing me under the bus to get with her. That's totally fine. Men are just doing what they're supposed to do, right? It sucks to be stabbed in the back by your friend, but when she's that hot, it's like, can you blame them? Yeah, you can. It's not a very good friend. But it's pretty common in our community for men to backstab each other to try to get with that guy's ex. It's despicable, but it happens. And when you have a really, really attractive and cool girlfriend and y'all break up, you are going to get shredded online. She's going to post, "Oh, I'm newly single," and she'll have 100 dudes hit her up. You'll post that and you'll get none, right? Because women typically want, tangents here, but women like you more when you have a girlfriend, I've noticed, but men don't care about the girl. That being said, you're going to kind of have to start over with your credibility and really build it back up. The only way you do that is by making good videos, good tutorials, showing up, helping others, eating healthy, getting sober, working out, and doing your career. Going back to chapter 1, you have to compete with all those other men again, and she doesn't really have to compete. She just posts a post that she's single or goes on a dating app and she'll have unlimited options. Breakups are rough on men, and the best way to get through it is you get a couple key buddies and you do not bitch about your breakup for more than like 10 minutes. And you say, "Hey, Lude, look, I'm going to vent, and then we're going to go to the gym, we're going to go on a hike, and we're going to talk about other stuff." That's the only way to get through it. You cannot talk about your divorce or talk about your breakup for months on end. I had to stop being friends with the dude because he did that. Sorry, my computer shut off and I had to double check it. Yeah, it's just the reality of life is that breakups are harder on men. And that's because relationships benefit men so much. Spiritually, physically, mentally, we really do benefit from having a woman in our life. And so losing that is tough. If you were over-reliant on her, it is gonna suck. If she was doing house chores for you, if she was giving you intimacy that really made you feel valued, if she was getting you gigs, if she was teaching you flow arts, if she gave you credibility in the community, you lose all that. And you have to rebuild it, it's way harder to rebuild than you think. And it takes, like I said, on average 18 months to attract someone of her level again. And that's tough. I mean, I'll just admit it, it's tough. I've been through it enough times to know. The most valuable thing you can have is routines in place to live a healthy life where you do the things you like and you do things to improve yourself. The gym, your career, your journal, your church, your hobbies, your community involvement, walking your dog even. So yeah, if you get absolutely demolished in a breakup and she doesn't at all, that is typical. Don't feel like you're lower than average if you take it way harder than she does. That's just the nature of this game, my friend. The final topic is something, it's me making a joke. It's she's for the streets and you're a lame. Obviously, I don't ever say that about a woman. She's for the streets means you were dating a woman. It's like a millennial or whatever internet phrase that means you were dating a woman that you loved, but it turns out that she actually wasn't worthy of love. And then you're a lame means just you're not worthy of having kids, basically, or you're not worthy of dating. When you post online talking shit about your ex, your echo chamber will always say, oh yeah, you deserved better. Oh yeah, you're better than her. Oh yeah, you're better than him. And I encourage you not to talk shit about your ex on social media. It's going to be very tempting if there's a breakup, or if you're talking, even if you're just talking to your friends, to talk shit about them. The people in the room with you just want to agree with you. They don't want to help you think critically. They're just like, yeah, she's for the streets. So when you're seeking real advice, don't ever speak negatively about another person, which is something I really have to work on. That it's hard. A lot of people, like, the echo chambers in our lives are profound. And I wrote this chapter to remind myself, like, dude, if she's for the streets, then you're a lame, right? We all can create an echo chamber in which others agree with us and say that our partner is bad. Don't do that. Cultivate people in your life who encourage you to take accountability and encourage you to be the one who needs to be worked on, rather than her or him. I don't get where our culture kind of went in the direction of just supporting whoever we're in the room with. I've always played devil's advocate, and my dad always plays devil's advocate. He makes the person he's talked to grow, sometimes whether they want to or not, and we need more of that in our life. I really appreciate my dad for teaching me that, because if you don't have that influence in your life, you're just going to have an echo chamber saying, you know what, buddy, you were right all along. And that's a terrible thing to have. You want to have people who stretch your perception. You want to have people who help you earn a better partner, who help you earn or get that partner back if you messed up. I went into a lot of details about why she's for the streets and you're a lame. And in the flow arts community, yeah, there's a lot of glaring issues. A lot of single parenthood, single motherhood leads women to be a certain way and leads men to be a certain way. A lot of drug use leads women to behave a certain way and men to behave a certain way. You have to be aware of that going into dating a flow artist, because these glaring issues will cause relational problems down the line. And ask me how I know. I mean, I've dated women from upper class, lower class, high intelligence, lower intelligence, and the same issues pop up no matter what. We must be aware that dating another flow artist is kind of like, we're kind of like, I don't know, the fast food of human culture in a way. We are not the highest culture. We're not a 5-star restaurant. We're kind of a grungy, gritty group. We really are. We're, a lot of us smoke, a lot of us stay up late. Not many of us, work impressive jobs or even own a home or a car. We're kind of a gritty group. And that's okay. That's my point of this chapter, is it is totally okay to be lower class, lower intelligence. We can still have just as much joy and meaning as other people. Now, my final thought on this chapter is basically, never criticize a woman, like, seriously. Basically, it just doesn't lead to any meaningful growth for yourself. Accept women where they are and either love them or don't. Now, you should try to help them, if she's for the streets. And again, I'm saying that facetiously. Like, you take her from being a street person to, like, more of a home person. Like, that's your job, is you love her where she's at, and then you help her upgrade her life. And maybe the act of helping her upgrade her life makes her move on, and she doesn't love you anymore because she's leveled up and she can do better than you. That's great. You were aware of that going in. You were a stepping stone, and you should be aware of that. And maybe she's that for you. She's a stepping stone in the sense that she teaches you the things she was meant to teach you, and you level up, and now you're making more money, or you have more credibility, or you have more skills and opportunities, and you leave her behind. Both of these situations can happen. It's tragic, and I'm not the bad guy for calling it out. I'm just calling out what I see. People use each other a lot in this community, and that's neither good nor bad. As long as you're aware of it going in, you can adjust and guard your heart and be as vulnerable as you want to be. overall, I would say what I learned in writing this book was that most men are not prepared to date a truly self-actualized woman in our community. Women have advanced a lot in the last, 30 or 40 years, and flow arts is a community where that really shows. We support women. We support them when they break up. We support them on stage. We do give them more opportunities. We do rely on them more heavily. They do have more leadership roles, and that's a blessing. I mean, women are amazing. Don't get sucked into that red pill content that talks about, anything misogynist. It's not always obvious at first, but the dating advice you should consume should definitely have equality at the center of it. And they're hard to find because the really successful men tend to be more type A and more Machiavellian and have those dark triad traits of, they use other people and they're kind of brooding and mysterious and stoic. That's great if you want to have a ton of options, but if you really want to cultivate a romantic relationship in our community, you cannot be Machiavellian. You really have to be collaborative and willing to be vulnerable and put your resources and time and focus and energy on the line to support someone else without asking for anything in return. I mean, if she willingly gives you her spirit and her time, that's great. But I really, really, really want to see more kids in the flow arts community, and that only happens through compatible relationships developing. I am sad that so many women in our community, don't want to have kids. It makes me really sad because I think kids are awesome, and I want the flow arts community to flourish. And as we all get older, we're all anxious and avoidant attaching styles at this point. And I really want there to be more couples so that men aren't constantly stabbing each other in the back for a hookup chance, and that women don't have the anxiety of wondering if they'll ever have a man commit to them. I really want the men specifically in our community to step up and improve their lives to the point that women actively choose them and are excited to marry or commit to them and have kids or not. Just their baby could in theory be a show or a tutorial series. But if they want to have kids, they can only do that with a man who's fully developed. And I encourage you to go read the book. This is kind of me rambling. Maybe you're falling asleep to this. Maybe you're driving and you just wanted to reflect on your own life. It's a tough journey. Dating a woman in the liberal arts culture requires more patience than in a more traditional culture. And as someone who's kind of centrist, maybe a little bit left of center, I've had a hard time, but it's also developed me to a great degree. And I think it can help develop you too. As always, I appreciate your time, and I look forward to sharing my thoughts in the next video. Peace.